Hey folks, my name is Jim Aspel. I'm a board-certified workers' compensation attorney in Farmington, Connecticut. And I wanted to talk to you today about how long the settlement process takes in a Connecticut workers' compensation claim. A lot of times clients ask us, how long is it going to take me to settle my workers' comp claim? And I think having a little bit of an understanding of the process is helpful. So generally how it works is when the client indicates that they're at a point where they are interested in settling their workers' compensation case, we take a look at it, we go through the medicals, we look at their base compensation rate, so in other words, the rate at which their benefits are being paid, and we formulate, based upon what everything looks like, we formulate a settlement demand. So that's typically the top number that we're asking the insurance company to pay to close out the workers' compensation case. Now, the demand figure that we send to the insurance company, that's in all likelihood anyways, not the number that your case is going to settle for. That would be a perfect world scenario. If everything went in your favor and you got 100% of everything that you were asking for, then the demand figure would probably be a reasonable number, but that's not how it works. Every workers' compensation case has one flea or another. You may have a pre-existing condition. The incident may have been unwitnessed. For a variety of reasons, the cases are always uncertain to a certain degree. So we send out that demand to the insurance company, and typically we request a settlement hearing or a hearing to discuss settlement with the workers' compensation commissioner. Now, ideally what happens is the lawyer for the insurance company, when they receive our settlement demand, they take that to their adjuster, they go through their own internal process, and they price up the case as to what they think it's worth, and they provide us an offer. Now, the offer, at least the initial offer, is going to be the lowball figure to get rid of the case. Now, just like the case isn't going to settle for the demand figure, the case is not going to settle for the initial offer either. So, for instance, if we send out a demand of $100,000 to settle your workers' compensation case, the insurance company may respond saying, well, we are interested in settling the case, but we think that the case is worth $20,000 and here's why. So we have an $80,000 discrepancy between what the demand is and what the offer is. Generally, there's then a process going back and forth between the attorneys, your attorney and the attorney for the workers' compensation insurance company, and there's some give and take, there's some negotiation going on back and forth. Sometimes we do get the input of the workers' compensation administrative law judge. They take a look at it, and based upon their experience and what they see cases of a similar fact pattern and injuries settling for, they come up with a number and they make a recommendation as to the number that the case should settle for. Generally, when the commissioner puts what's known as the commissioner's figure on the file, that number is pretty close to what the case is going to come in at. It's not going to be the demand, and it's certainly not going to be the initial offer, but it's going to be somewhere in between. There are some workers' compensation administrative law judges that aren't comfortable doing that. They're not going to put a number on it. In that case, the lawyers do have to go back and forth, and typically after a period of time, we do get to a number that our clients can live with and that the insurance company can live with, and the case proceeds to settlement. There are some instances, typically in larger cases, where we go to an outside mediator. Typically those are retired workers' compensation judges. They'll spend a considerable period of time with the parties, the attorneys, the insurance adjuster, in all likelihood, you, your client, and after a period of time closed in a room together, generally we hammer out some sort of agreement as to what the case is going to settle for. So that kind of gives you an example of the negotiation process anyways. There's the offer, or there's the demand, there's the offer, there's the back and forth. Sometimes the administrative law judge is involved, sometimes there's a private mediation, but eventually you get to a number that the case is going to settle for. That process can take a while. Quickly it'll happen in 2 or 3 weeks if everybody's anxious to settle, or if it's the end of the year and there's some other incentive. Sometimes they go on for months. If you have to get a Medicare set aside or something like that, a workers' compensation negotiation can go 9 months, 12 months, occasionally longer, while the parties try to hammer out an agreement and a number that everybody can live with. But in any event, once you get to the number that the case is going to settle for, the process then moves fairly quickly. The settlement documents are prepared. Your attorney is going to send those documents along with some other required forms that the state of Connecticut requires to the workers' compensation office where your file is being handled. The workers' compensation judge is then going to schedule what's called a stipulation approval hearing. They're then going to meet with you at that hearing. The hearing is going to take about 5 or 10 minutes. The judge is going to go over with you the fact that you fully understand that you're closing out your workers' compensation claim. You can never come back and make any other claim for benefits for that injury with that employer. So at the end of that approval hearing, you're going to know, or you should know, that that's the end of the road for that claim, and that's the money you're going to get, and you can never come back and ask for anything else in connection with that claim. That process, again, takes about 5 or 10 minutes for the judge to go over that with you. Assuming you agree, at that point, the judge is going to approve it, and it's going to go off for payment. Just as an aside, that settlement approval hearing is not an open door for additional negotiation. So it's not reasonable for you to think that you're going to go into your settlement approval hearing. Everybody's agreed to a settlement of $50,000, and by talking and arguing with the judge or the attorney or whomever is in the room, you think you're going to get another $10,000 out of the settlement. That's simply not the way it works. If you, in fact, show any sort of reticence at all about closing out your case, the workers' compensation judge is going to say, okay, well, we're not going to settle the case. He or she is going to close his file and wish you a good day. So by the time you get to that approval hearing, you and your attorney should be on the same page that that is the number that the case is going to settle for, and that's the end of the road for that case. So once that approval, the stipulation is signed by the workers' comp judge, we get a copy, you get a copy, the insurance company gets a copy, and the Workers' Compensation Commission keeps a copy of for their file. From that point, the insurance company has 20 days under Connecticut law to get the payment in the mail. That's not 20 days to pay you, it's 20 days to get the payment in the mail to you. So there's a little bit of a misunderstanding about that with certain people. The exception to that 20 days is if your claim is against the state of Connecticut and your benefits are being paid by the state of Connecticut Second Injury Fund, then in that instance, rather than 20 days, they have 20 business days. So there's a little bit of a distinction there. They do allow themselves a little bit more time to get the money out in the mail to you. So 20 days for a regular employer, 20 business days for the state. When that settlement check comes in, it's going to be mailed to your to your attorney's office. We're going to take that, we're going to deposit it into our client's fund account. It's going to clear. We have to wait for the check to clear, and at such point as it's available, we're going to take our fee out of that check, typically 20%, and we are going to write a check to you for the net proceeds of the settlement. If there are additional costs, medical reports, postage, special reports that we had to pay for a doctor to render an opinion, whatever that happens to be, your lawyer is going to take those out of your settlement check at the time that payment is rendered as well. When the check is ready, there's going to be a settlement statement prepared showing how the money comes and goes, and at that point, the lawyer will have you in, present you the check, and that will be the end of the process. That workers' compensation settlement check to you is 100% tax-free. You're not going to get a 1099 on it. There's no W-2. It's completely tax-exempt money. So from the point where the settlement approval hearing occurs, generally you're going to have your money within 20 days. If they don't get it out within 20 days, there's a 20% penalty. So the insurance companies are incentivized to get that money out to you. But when you take into account the negotiation, generally the time frame for settling a workers' comp case, from when you first make the demand to when you finally see your money, is going to be somewhere between 6 weeks on the fast end to 9 months to a year on the long end, depending on what has to happen. Hope that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. We're in Farmington, Connecticut. You can call us anytime. It's 860-523-8783. If you found the video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up. I'd welcome you to subscribe to the channel. We do have a number of videos out there on Connecticut workers' compensation topics. If you have additional information or you have other general questions, I'd refer you to our website, www.ctworkinjurylawyer.com. There's a lot of good information there on Connecticut workers' compensation topics, as well as Social Security disability information and Connecticut personal injury claims. So if you have any information on that, I'd invite you to take a look at the website as well. Hope you found the video helpful and hope you have a great day. Thanks.